It's cool. Everything is cool.
He's just a monster talent, isn't he?
I'd say him and Ben Payne, big lesson in Makkina. Working with them, for me, it's like a crazy, steep learning curve.
Yeah. Well, who's been? That's not Alex's. No, remember Alex, the Swedish Alex from Color Materials?
Yeah, that's his wife.
That's his wife.
Ben
That's
Payne's
her wife.
wife.
Okay.
And he managed to be in first in the morning in the office. Before, he was like 5 o'clock. He was pushing the stroller through Leamington. Then he's staying till late, even longer than me. Then he's sorting out everything with a good attitude, everything with lots and lots of output. I didn't know where all that energy came from. Basically, it's
I need a lesson. I need a lesson in that, because I'm just fucking up perpetually on like balance with family life.
So he might be somebody you should really,
I should definitely speak to him, dude. I need to do a trip over to England at some point. We'll be rolling now. I need to do a trip over to England at some point and speak to those guys. I mean, there's so many people in England that I want to speak to. But
honestly, me too. As I told you, I'm really bad in keeping contact with lots of people I really liked back in the time.
Yes.
And I feel a bit kind of guilty.
But it's also a two-way street. So
well, true. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm here with my buddy Flo. Florian, do we say Dobe or Dobe?
In German, Dobe.
Dobe.
I don't mind.
Okay.
You can say it as you want.
Right. So
Dobe is the funniest way.
Dobe, yeah. So we obviously worked together 7 odd years ago at the mighty Jaguar in Whitley in Coventry in the United Kingdom.
Yes.
And it was a very enjoyable experience. And today is the first time that we've seen each other in 7 years. So
exactly,
it's great to see you, Flo.
And I'm glad you invited me. Honestly.
I'm glad you said yes. Yeah. So let's start at the beginning with you.
Yeah.
It's not. We don't assume anything. You're from Germany.
I'm from Germany. Back in the day when I was born, it was East Germany, basically.
Where?
Halle, close to Leipzig.
Okay. Yeah.
So the first 7-8 years I was in school, I turned to be a pioneer, with this red necklace, how do you call this?
Scarf?
Kind of a scarf, basically, yeah.
And so you grew up in Halle, and how did you how did you get to the point where you decided I want to be a car designer?
I think it was mentioned by many people before. I was like automatically, when I was like 5-6 years old, I was kind of just drawing cars, and nobody knew why I'm doing this all the time, because all I see on the road is Wartburgs, Trabis, all these East German cars, which are, let's say, not a great
reference.
Reference, exactly. Not a great input for me to be creative, but there could have been better cars.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if there was some kind of car design implemented in East Germany, but never really brought to road for you to purchase. So they did this Trabi, Wartburg, all that stuff, or even Russian stuff. Like Lada was quite common. My grandpa had a Lada, and he was super proud of it.
Yeah.
As soon as we became Germany, he had the first baby Benz 190.
Oh wow!
And he was so proud of it, and I was proud that he got that car.
Yeah, I bet you were. Yeah. But so when were you born? In 83?
82.
82. Okay, I'm 83, so it's not totally impolite to ask. So
no.
Yeah.
I'm fine with my age.
Okay, all right. So you remember the transition, like going from?
I remember me, my parents walking at these demos Mondays, against the government, the party, the SED, and all that stuff. My father in front of first row, my mom and me further back, so we don't get trouble with the police and stuff.
Wow. And so you...
And I remember basically on TV, the wall came down, my parents crying because they were so happy and falling each other into the arms, and we're free. That was a good moment, I think, for my parents.
I bet,
for us. Yeah.
Yeah, it's insane. I mean, we live we live right by the Glenickerbrücke, and before 89, you couldn't just drive over, and we drive over the bridge almost every day. So it's pretty cool. But so you were intuitively just drawing from a young age, or did you have like a thing about cars as well?
Kind of a thing about cars, about the technical component basically. I think at an age of like 9, 10, 11, I was kind of a Lego maniac, but just techniques, just building cars, rebuilding cars, turning a 4-cylinder into an 8-cylinder, turning a low sports car into some like monster truck. I was totally crazy about that stuff, but at that point, I didn't connect like the drawing stuff and the technical interest. Then after that, when I turned to be a teenager, I was into graffiti and all that stuff. I was drawing lots of stuff.
Yes, I remember. That. Yeah.
And later, I kind of connected both interests. And with an age of 16, 17, 18, I knew exactly I want to be a car designer. I went to Pforzheim for 1 degree show to see what it is, because I heard Pforzheim is the place to be. And I was blown away. I was just, these models, these guys. I was really shy, then trying to ask some of these students, how does that work out? And of course, they got asked a lot. Later, I got asked a lot. So they were kind of tired giving these answers, but never mind, I was just blown away by all that, what you can do, how creative you can be, how cars could look like. I mean, all these diplomas, all these cars, quarter scales you saw there, it was like mind-blowing.
Yeah,
a new
the first
world
time
to me.
I saw it was just...
Yeah. At that time, kind of doing research online was the internet was not right what it is now, I think. So you saw a few things, but what you saw at the show was kind of, okay, now that's the world, that's the place to be. Now it's the internet. Now it's everything's online.
Dude, yeah, I mean that's the thing. The internet was very much there, but the information wasn't there, and it was the landscape was completely different.
Exactly.
There wasn't car design news I think existed, but it was really in its infancy, and it was basically just a forum, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So you getting into Pforzheim was a straightforward process?
No, not at all. Not at all. I did all my practice. Even in my hometown in Halle, you have the Burg Giebichenstein. You can study industrial design there. One of my professors from Pforzheim actually came from that school. I did some courses there, like drawing objects, drawing nude people, drawing really good experience. And I felt like I was prepared, but that day, I think my nervous manner was just beating my talent, I guess, or maybe my talent was not as, well practiced as it should be. So I really failed. I failed big time. Sitting there, top floor, left-handy between all the right-hand people, just more fighting for space than putting something on paper, and was an experience which was really bad for me, but I think I took my learnings out of that, basically.
And then, as I understand it, did you know immediately that it was a fail?
I had that feeling, yes. Okay. And I knew exactly, plan B at that time was actually to go more towards the technical component and to go to Technical University in Dresden to start mechanical engineering. I knew there they offer, after your main course, they offer something like technical design, so you can become kind of a design engineer, some crossroad there where you got knowledge about functions, where you could, for example, design headlamps, tail lamps, and you know exactly how they work out, and you could work with the package a bit more. But also there, you have to visit some courses in between, to draw stuff, to construct stuff. And so that was kind of, I kept on learning, I kept on practicing, and I knew exactly after failing first, I have automatically a second chance. So I don't have to apply with a portfolio again for the entrance test. I can go or call them and say, I want to have my second chance now. And they invited me again for that second run. And there I was kind of, whatever. Maybe it works out, maybe not. I already do my studies in Dresden. And that kind of, relaxed feeling, that relaxed attitude gave me all of a sudden that, everything
flow through you
was flowing through, exactly, was falling into place. And I got the position there in Pforzheim.
Wow. And your experience at Pforzheim, what was so brilliant about it?
Brilliant was, first of all, the size. The group of people was super reduced, like 10 people. I think 10 people who passed the test for industrial design and 10 people for car design. And these 20 guys, they have to do their main course, their first 4 semesters together, and then they split up into their profession or their specialty. Us doing car design, having just car projects at that time, and they went back to the main building going more for the industrial design projects.
Okay.
But so at the main course, we all together we did product studies as well. We did furniture. We had the awesome task to design a coffin, for example.
Oh wow,
it was really bad.
I bet. Did it have lots of crown in it?
It had.
Did it?
To be honest, it had.
Yeah?
Yeah. It was kind of like, because of the tools we had there, I decided to make a smaller coffin. So it was a coffin for a kid.
Oh, Jesus.
It's stupid, I know. But I could do this kind of protecting layers, like a mom would hold the head of a child. Like, you hold it warm like this, you hold it like this.
Yeah.
With some soft wood tones, wood shaders. And it should be as calm as possible.
Right.
I was so lucky when I passed that semester.
Okay. It was very sensitive of Flo. Yeah.
No, but going back to your question, what was special about Pforzheim was the size, the people teaching you, people from industry. Obviously, I knew before that Pforzheim is connected to the industry, like Mercedes, Porsche next door, BMW. It's a guy coming. Teaching us taping and stuff like that. So, engineers, an engineer who came and taught us. And
what about the group of peers that were in your year? In your semester?
Yeah.
Did you learn a lot from them or being around them?
I think it was an interesting way to a first taste of competition. Let's say that. With one or the other, you still manage to become friends. So it's not like just with a knife between your teeth and nobody's talking to each other. No, we were kind of still in a good group and sometimes sketching together and all of that. It became a bit more tense later towards the time when you actually have to apply for a job. So everybody was, a bit more focused on his own goals and I think that's normal.
Yeah, it's normal. If you take that scenario there where you've got 10 people and you've got those big OEMs basically on your doorstep, it's a bit like, I guess you could say, like how Jaguar Land Rover is to Coventry University. Mm-hmm. The difference is that at Coventry University, at least the time that I was there was I don't know how many people finished, but it was over 50 for sure. And
I know the procedure of Coventry Uni.
Right.
Yeah.
And then there was I think 2 jobs, one at Jaguar, one at Land Rover. Yeah. What how many, what was the situation like in?
I think pretty much everybody who passed the test to go to Pforzheim kind of had the attitude of making the best out of these 4 years, 8 semesters, basically. Everybody was kind of focused enough to really get there and get a job later. Yeah. I try to remember if somebody didn't get a job. I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
What sort of things did you learn from then? What do you think that apart from the people that you're surrounded with, what sort of things do you think that course does particularly well in terms of the things that they give you? I mean, it can be anything from drawing exercises.
Well, I think in comparison maybe to Coventry, they actually tell you if things are good enough or not.
Okay.
I just noticed later when I was in a Land Rover Jag, I was walking through the degree show in Coventry, and I was counting the ones which I think have a real chance to get a job in the industry at the OEM. It's some of them I felt like, okay, they just took the money. That's it. That's my honest opinion.
Yeah.
In Pforzheim, yes, you got lots of pressure. I remember sometimes there was the threat that if your project doesn't get a mark good enough in the end, you wouldn't even be allowed to present it at the degree show.
Oh, wow.
And having people coming from industry who actually initiated the projects each term and came along from time to time to see what's the status and get a presentation. What is your final idea? How do you want to proceed with the design? That puts a lot of pressure on you to present something reasonable in front of professionals, not just a professor or your tutor.
If you got into Pforzheim, and you obviously by that stage, my guess is that you had a certain level of confidence and you thought, okay, cool, I made the grade and there's a certain amount of people here.
Yeah.
Did you ever have a oh fuck moment where you're like, shit, I thought I was good, but I really need to raise the bar in order to get an internship, for example?
I think that's kind of a constant feeling when you just compete with all the other guys, with a few guys in your term. And I think it wasn't a natural process. Everybody is just putting their stuff on the wall, and then you get wowed, and then you try to figure out how did he do that, and try to adapt somehow to find your own way to make something cool or even better. Or I don't know. Even if it's just a render technique, which is not seen before or was not seen before, and now you try this, but maybe you find another twist on it to make it different again. And it was never a moment of, oh God, I'm losing, I'm wrong here. It was more always the moment like, okay, I will try. I will try to compete, to make it to make my own good way out of that.
You're quite a competitive guy anyway by nature, right? I mean, do you want to talk about your wrestling at all? Or?
Okay, just maybe for 2 minutes and that's it then.
Okay.
Competitive in a way that, I started wrestling when I was 7. I was second in Germany when I was 15.
Oh, Jesus.
And then I got in my weight class and my age. So I was second at the German Masters. And then a year later, my hip was kind of, the joint was a bit cracked up, let's say.
God.
So they went to Munich for surgery. It's not a big deal, like a new method. They brought some doctors from my hometown to learn from that procedure, watching my surgery. And then I was fine again, but obviously I didn't want that one to get worse, so I stopped wrestling. Then I focused on what I wanted to do after my A-levels. Yeah. After my civil service, and then,
What did you do for your civil service?
Going to the hospital, basically to a station. I don't know what's the name for innere Medizin.
Class?
Yeah. Exactly. So
internal medicine.
Lots of cancer, basically. Older people, lots of cancer. Quite an experience in life.
Did you learn? Was anything profound that you took away from that experience?
I think you just see how quick life can end. Basically, you talk to some people, you have really nice chats with some guys, they're just in for chemo or some other treatment, and the third time they come in, they're not leaving the hospital anymore. And then, oh my God, I just talked to him yesterday, and now it's everything got an end. And then you meet the family, and they find the right words. I just couldn't find words for that. Yeah.
Wow. So then I guess maybe
it was 11 months, proper shit, man.
I can imagine.
Also got a lot of shit from the nurses.
Jesus, yeah, I bet.
Just whistling after me like a dog.
Yeah, really, yeah.
Do this, do that, blah, blah, blah. It's like,
I can't imagine somebody bossing you around.
I was worth nothing. But I did lots of stuff. I was cleaning and pushing people around to their to all the treatments they needed to get here and there, and was talking to them basically what the nurse couldn't do, as they don't have enough time for each single individual guy sitting there. So I was kind of the helping hand in terms of social contact.
Wow. But the civil service is now finished, right?
I think all of that doesn't exist anymore. Okay. I'm wondering if they bring it back in some way, but
I think in that sort of capacity where you've got some options to do different things, it's quite a positive thing, is it? The fact when I interviewed Lucas Haag, and he was talking about his civil service as well, and I was like, "What? I thought they abolished that a long time ago." But because my understanding of it was that you would be going to the army, but you've got all these different things that you can
do. Because
do.
of my injury, I was not good enough for the army because of the hip story.
But there's some pretty cool things that you can do, right? And is that? Was it quite a positive thing? I mean, would you think they should bring it back?
Basically, I didn't know what's coming up there. I just thought, okay, going to the hospital will be an experience.
But in hindsight, do you think it was? Would you be an advocate for bringing it back?
Yes. Okay. It was definitely an experience for life. People or young people, age of 18, should have, for sure, I think to respect life a bit more, maybe to respect how life can change to the worse.
Because I think there's a lot to be said for taking a gap year, doing something completely different, shoveling shit, going working abroad, doing different things to get a bit more life experience before you make a decision, or maybe you've already made a decision to pursue a certain career. In this case, car design. But
that experience shouldn't have anything to do with your career. It should be just something
a life experience, basically.
I think it puts you in a right space again when you
gives you perspective.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so you then during your time at Pforzheim, you interned where?
Audi.
You interned at Audi.
Yeah, exactly. I was planning to intern in Audi and in Porsche Design CMC.
Yeah.
I had good talks there, or an offer there, let's say. But as it is, down to the money, my parents said, hey,
go down the road.
We can't pay you, feed you even longer. Come on, get ready, get finished.
Okay.
One internship, I went back to Pforzheim, did my 7th term semester interior project, went back to Audi doing diploma, and was finished, basically.
I just want to, again, clarify that with regards to internships, that there might be an assumption that, you just go, okay, cool, I'm going to go and intern there. And because it's an internship, it's quite easy to get that. There's still competition for those internships.
That was, you're applying and you don't know if it's good enough or not. I mean, you always constantly question yourself, is that stuff good enough to compete with all the other guys from all the other schools who are also applying here and there? And first of all, at the big, nice OEMs where everybody wants to go, then you just get the call and out of the blue, and then awesome, it worked out.
Very happy.
Yeah.
Okay. And then so you just did that one internship?
I just did that one internship in Audi, and then I did it in the shortest time possible. The whole thing. And
how much would you say that you learned during that experience compared to university?
Well, of course, you got all the professionals in the university, but it's again different to experience professionals in their working habitat. It's like, what's their daily routine? How do they work? How does such a project works in terms of timing and pressure? And what you do at school is still kind of, we work all these steps through from a concept phase to design to building to presenting and finishing. But at an OEM, it's kind of, you experience the real pressure behind and the real feedbacks you get, more or less harsh, for example. Yeah. It's like, that's the real deal, the real world. And you should kind of learn a lot from that if you really want to get a job in that kind of business later.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, it's quite a thing stepping into a real design studio for the first time, huh?
Yeah, you feel that small, when you walk in there.
Well,
first time.
not all the graduates that I've seen, but yes, you should feel a little bit, a little bit humble.
If somebody already thinks he is the next big king, then of course. But I think that's the wrong attitude to show up anywhere.
I agree. Yeah. But it's nice to hear it coming from somebody else for once. Yeah. You eventually finished university, and you have this big degree show at the end.
So July 2008, I finished. We had that big degree show running over 2 days, I think. 3 days. I think it started Friday. Half of the Friday was taken by getting the diploma handed over, and then you start to stand next to your model. You still build up your posters, and then you start to talk to professionals who just come in the afternoon, trying to go through Pforzheim quickly to see what's the latest stuff, who's finishing with what kind of diploma, what kind of model, what kind of concept. Saturday is a bit more family related, Sunday anyway. So I think the most important time is like Friday. I don't know if it's still like this in Pforzheim now. If it runs from Friday to Sunday, but
But that's
Friday was kind of most important.
That is potentially. And was it in your case that you got a job offer through that?
An interview offered from Alistair Whelan, basically.
Okay. Shout out to Alistair Whelan.
Exactly, Alistair Whelan. It was a nice talk, and then I felt really relieved. Like, cool. I felt like I need to start off my career with going abroad, going to another country. Abroad, I mean, England is not that far from Germany.
But it's still a complete change of environment.
It was a complete change, yes. Different environment, complete different way of life, yeah.
Was that to do interiors, or was it to do exterior?
Exterior.
Okay.
So I think they casted like, later I got told they casted like 25 people, invited 25 people for interviews, and then selected 3 guys, which needed to, I think 2, Pierre Sabas and Simon Tobbe. They went to Jag, and I went to Land Rover.
Was Simon in your year as well?
He was a master and finished in my year.
Shout out to Simon Tobbe.
Yeah.
This is going to be a tricky question. What do you think set you apart from those 25 other people?
You have to ask Alistair, who was there? Ollie Grice. I try to remember if Julian was there or not. Yeah, I think they wanted to have not just, they asked me to draw something, and then I had to.
They did ask you to draw something.
They asked me to draw some Jag related stuff. I think I could choose between Land Rover and Jag, but I did some Jag, little quick sketch program. but they actually didn't talk about the design itself, but what's the story of that thing.
Okay.
I expected that, to be honest. There need to be a story. So I had my little explaining to do in front of them, was quite relaxed actually. And I didn't get told directly that I got a job. So they told me later then.
On the subject of we'll get back to this in a second. On the subject of storytelling,
yeah,
is that something that you learned at Pforzheim?
Yes, at Pforzheim for sure. And then
did they explain to you that this is like a super important part, presenting, and you should sell a story?
I mean, it was part of how you build up your semester, your work you do for the semester, for interior, for exterior, for the earliest semester. You always had to find a concept, have a story around it, then start design session, then building it.
Okay.
So not just design safari. Yeah.
No. Surprise. Yeah, that's. But okay. So you got selected, and then you went to Land Rover.
They told me my position would be I would start in Land Rover. We agreed beforehand that I would experience both brands. At some point, we would kind of, But I was pushing that point. Starting 1 year later, after I started, I was pushing that point towards Julian. Whenever I saw him somewhere in Gaydon, in the design studio, I kind of, hey, can I talk to you? I would really love to, also do some Jag work. And after 2 years, I swapped from Land Rover to Jag.
I remember you telling me about that. And I have to say, I was always envious at your, I've got a bit more context around the story now, but I was always envious at that. Like, how do you just go up to Julian Thompson and say, please bring me over to Jaguar?
Yeah.
Cool. Shout out to Julian Thompson as well.
Course.
He's probably listening. Don't think he'll watch, but
super
hi, Julian.
Grateful that he managed to do that, really. And so, honestly, everything what was following was, I was super thankful for that. Because when I started in Land Rover, like 2 months later, the financial crisis hit the whole business, the whole world, basically.
Yeah.
And I was kind of left alone, all these contractors, all these super nice designers. And I think Andy Sheffield was part of that already at that time. They left from one day to the other. They had to leave. And I felt a bit like, so I'm allowed to stay here, but all these nice guys, they have to leave. Oh, that's I feel a bit weird in this situation. And from there on, it was basically all the budgets were cut down. A showcar we planned was, or I was put on to develop details and stuff, was kind of stopped immediately. I think everybody in this business instantly had to see how they survive financially. And based on that, your chance to do clay models and all that stuff is a kind of going to zero, basically, for quite a while then. So you do sketch programs, you do cast programs with the modelers, but that's it. Then clay model wouldn't follow at that time.
When did you start to feel like things are? Was it always like just as soon as something happened, you always were just treading carefully, or was there a moment where you felt like, okay, it looks like things are starting to go back to normal?
In a way, yeah, you notice that there's more budget here and there for doing the clay workout. But I think in Land Rover at that time, it was a bit more like, okay, the clay work belongs to the guys who are already experienced, because we don't have many shots and we trust the guys who already did clay models. A young trainee like me at that time wouldn't get the chance to start learning on full size, on not even on quarter. So I felt a bit like, okay, I got stuck here. And that's also a reason why I constantly was, when I saw Julian, was kind of, I can't remember how pushy I was at that time. But
it'd be interesting. But
he was at least not annoyed of me, but he brought me over and put me directly on some clay. Like, here are your modelers. Here's that body side. Start learning. Do it. Amazing.
What a gift, huh?
Yeah, totally.
And you're like, but you went straight over to advanced design, right?
I started in Land Rover in advanced design.
Okay.
Was led, I think, by League Rise at that time.
Okay.
And I swapped to advanced in Jag. Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
And so I think one of the things, we can just touch on it lightly, but we obviously worked together on the CX-17, which was the first Jaguar SUV concept.
Yeah, it was basically the main project over 3 years to develop, or 2 years, and to develop that that volume. So it was already in development when I swapped to Jag, and but it was a complete different volume, was a complete different animal than what it turned out in the end. And that was kind of a constant clay development on the side. Not on the side, it was sometimes had more priority, so it was more pushing on that one. But in between, we did some other project as well, also doing full-size clays. But it always came back to that one. And at some point, they decided, okay, it needs to become reality. We have a platform, we have everything for it. We have a decision that Jag wants to do that SUV, that we want to put something like this on the market. And then we started to work out the clay for the show car. And with a bit of distance, then they started in the production studio to carry over what we developed on the show car to stay like 80-85% in common.
Without going into, again, too much detail, what was the how did you get that opportunity to do the show car? Because there was a few people in advance at that time that I'm sure probably would have wanted to do it as well.
At some point they also put it up to all of us to compete in terms of design themes, in terms of finding the right stuff to put on the volume, on the clay.
Okay.
But I think already that propulsion model, the internal kind of, don't want to call it show car, but the internal model they used for clinic tests was already quite well received at that time. I got lucky that they actually said, okay, we trust Florian enough to get this through with guidance, obviously. So my manager was Matt Bevan.
Matt Bevan. Shout out to Matt Bevan.
Yeah, big time.
Absolute unsung hero. That guy is, he's a bit of a legend, isn't he? And
definitely, yeah.
Nobody knows. I mean, he's not.
And also such a nice guy, really, to talk to.
Super nice dude. Super, super nice guy. So, okay. So, and so you had like, your theme was selected and you had this great guidance as well.
Even then the theme changed a lot. I think we went, I wouldn't say off track, but we went somewhere where in the end Ian Callum was not happy with. And he was pushing us back towards the F-type to bring, this muscle language, the construction of the rear, to bring that back into that SUV. So we already went slightly into another direction, something we wanted to progress maybe a bit too much. But I guess Ian was kind of worried that it's not Jag anymore after all. I totally understand. I mean, after all, you have to bring that all together, need to develop the whole family of cars.
Yeah. Did you ever feel overwhelmed in that process?
Yes, I did. And I think I didn't express it enough. After all, I feel like I should have shown a bit more reaction to it.
Yeah.
Maybe some people thought like he takes it for granted, that he's doing this stuff. I didn't, obviously.
I mean, I do remember that I remember that project well, and I remember I have to say I was quite. It was impressive to see you on the surface, at least, just kind of handling everything. I mean, obviously there's a group of people working on it, but you still, even at that early stage, for me, it was quite impressive to see you managing the situation.
But it was never felt like so much under pressure. I think I can't do it. Not at all. It felt like everybody was helping me, so it could work.
But it was a positive pressure.
Yeah.
And so So then, okay, around that time, it just I can't remember when that was. 2013, sometime around there. A few of us left, and you went back to Germany.
Yeah, I went back to I didn't went back to Germany. I was staying actually 2 more years in UK.
Oh yeah, you did. Yeah, sorry, that's right. Okay.
I totally missed out that.
Okay, yeah, good for you.
Basically, I end of 13, beginning of 14, I swapped to Makkina, which is, I didn't know who Makkina is really in the beginning, but I was at that time somehow not happy in terms of being in the UK. I had a long distance relationship to Germany. I was flying forth and back over 5 years basically, and all this was falling apart. It had to happen at some point. And I kind of was blaming UK for that. It was not quite fair, I have to say. But at that time, I was kind of emotionally
looking for a scapegoat.
I couldn't really understand what's going wrong at the moment. And I felt somehow not home, let's say that. So I was a bit unhappy with where I am at the moment. Not with the job, but with the location. And I was wondering, even after that time, there were not a lot of jobs. But I was wondering, how do I get somewhere? How do I go somewhere else? How do I get a job somewhere else? I just got the feeling I don't have enough vitamin B. In German, you would call vitamin B like connections. And
so there weren't Instagram posts advertising jobs everywhere.
I think at that time was Instagram already.
It was starting, but it wasn't what it is now. Like people were actually just taking photos and
exactly. No, it was it was a bit of a tricky situation at that time, and I have to say it was kind of a nice moment then when I got a call from Tom Smith. He was another colleague of mine in Jag, and he left to Makkina, and later he called me like, hey, Makkina is looking for more people. Are you interested?
Can you just explain briefly, because it's not a very well-known company, and I don't know if they're still going, but what they do.
So that's what,
because it's very unique.
That was my first question. What are you doing at Macchina? And it turned out actually Macchina is one of the design agencies based in London who are kind of the big players in the car industry, in the car design industry, providing sketch programs, providing inputs to lots and lots of companies. So actually I noticed that's not a bad thing to do. I thought I fucked up my interview in Makkina right in the beginning, because I told myself I have to be honest to that boss there, Mike Arnie. I have to be honest. I told him I don't really want to apply to another British company. I want to go somewhere else, maybe Germany. But I told him right like this, and he said, yeah, no problem. You work for me for a while, let's say a year or 1.5, and I give you connections you need. So that's the deal between us. Awesome. Yeah. I didn't expect him to react like this, but it was a businessman reaction. But he's not just businessman; he's another really, really nice guy. Yeah.
A company like that is also not a common occurrence, especially not in the UK. That's got that level.
You never hear about them.
No,
never.
But they do a lot of advanced design work, right?
It's not their task to be out there and visible for everyone. It's their business to provide
James Bond operation,
to provide input, which could lead to whatever the next phase, the next show car, the next production car, the next design language. Whatever is asked by the companies when they book Makkina to produce input.
Wow, cool. And great experience?
In the beginning, it was the biggest kick in my butt ever, I have to say. It was, I felt like I start from zero. I had this kind of Jag design language. I was always sketching, obviously, but always trying to find my own twist, new themes. But in Makkina, you actually have to adapt almost every week to something new. to a new brand. You need to find your own way to make that brand visible, but with a new take on it. You need to be quick. You have to produce quantity, quality, and I had to wake up first. I really had to pick up speed. Also kind of learn a little bit from the working method from other people like Andy Sheffield, we mentioned earlier, and some other really
shout
nice.
Shout out to Andy Sheffield.
Yeah,
as
shout
well.
out. Or shout out to Ben Payne.
Shout out to Ben Payne. I don't know, but shout out to him. Yeah.
I was lucky to work with lots of super creative guys, and I was lucky that Mike Arnie actually saw potential for me to work for him to produce usable stuff for him, usable input. I needed a bit of time. He gave me that time, and then slowly but surely it picked up. It was picking up. Was kind of I had a sketch selected here, sketch selected there, and then more and more. It was good.
Okay,
it was really nice.
Cool.
Yeah.
And so you were there for what, 18 months, couple of years?
Not couple of years. It was like I think roughly one and a half years. And I even had some stuff going on in clay at an OEM. That far it could go. So it was a really nice experience. But
you weren't based in London then? Did they have a little satellite place in London?
They're based in London, and I took the train in the beginning twice or three times a week, early in the morning, like 6:15 in Leamington to go to London and walk to Paddington. And the rest of the time was home office. I really didn't like home office. I felt kind of trapped. I needed to get out of that flat and sit somewhere else, and there I could focus.
Yeah.
Luckily, with the other guys living around my place, also joining Makkina, Mike was sorting out an office for us to sit together. And then we just went to London maybe once a week, once every 2 weeks, to finish presentations, to touch up some the latest little inputs, and that's it. Yeah.
So Flo, where and then you get to the point where you want to go home, you want to go back to Germany.
I was in the middle of the process of working for Makkina, and as I said, I also had the chance to do some stuff, to go sort out or working on the clay, coming back to UK, continue working. And then it was about two guys I used to work in Jag, who previously worked for Bentley, and they had a boss called Raul Pires. He was head of Bentley at that time, head of exterior, basically. And they told me, Raul Pires is currently at Audi, and he's opening a new department for Audi. So he was implementing a new department. Everything was official. Like he had the budget for getting 2 or 3 freelancers, where the supplier studio sorted out permanently in Munich, and he was looking for another freelancer, and then I just grabbed that chance, showed him my portfolio, met him, showed him my portfolio. He said, "Okay, come to Munich, work for me."
Do you think you could have? Do you think you would have made the grade had you not had that time at Makkina?
I think all the experience. So the experience at OEM, experience at Makkina was kind of pushing me to a level which I possibly wouldn't have achieved if it went in a different way. Yeah.
The thing is, it's the thing when you are in one environment for a very long time, especially if it's your first job.
Yeah.
That can have a real. You've got to really kind of work quite hard to break away from that way of working, because in your mind you're like, well, this is how things need to be.
And I was already like 5 years at JLR, and it was kind of felt a bit comfortable, and it was completely break out of your comfortable zone. Was Makkina first of all, then also working for Raul as a freelancer in that Audi department. We did kind of advanced pre-production projects, trying out new platforms, trying out different shapes of cars. It was also very much related to, I think, Mark Lichter having that kind of wish to go through that project. And Raul, you try with your guys, try it out. Let's see if it works out. It was super nice. And again, a different boss, a different attitude. With Raul Pires, it was super hands-on. It was like, do your sketches, go to the modeler, sit next to him, continue sketching, see how he's building. While he's building, see if it works, do more sketches around that, but everything in real time. Yeah. Also, your reviews with Raul was a bit more like real time. There was a modeler sitting on big screen, moving CVs to where we thought the lines are actually in the right position. It was not just input waiting for a week, maybe getting something back. It was like, do it now, push. Same with the clay models, like do sketch, go there and start to build it in with the modeler. Start to build it in, try out. You will see very quickly if it works or not. Don't wait to figure out something far too late. Yeah.
I don't quite remember you touching Alias back in the day.
I did.
You did. Okay. Yeah. Is that still something that you very much do?
I think it's fun. From time to time, it's also one of my methods maybe to give input. If I'm not giving input like a new design theme for a bumper or whatever, but if that theme is already selected, but we want to work it out, sometimes I give some curves, a rough alignment of surfaces. Nothing fancy, nothing really worked out, as my level is not that great in Alias, but it's good enough to find a little bit of a different curvature, a bit more precision here and there. Another method is just orthographic shots and Photoshop lines. That's a normal method basically. But I just don't want to. Sometimes I don't want to stay 2D. I want to try out 3D. Could things look better with a different, angle after that bone and plant shape a bit different?
Has this process has it evolved over time?
I think it yeah.
How so?
I think it evolves with your experience, basically. It evolves, you figure out who wants to get what kind of input, who is willing to take also 3D input on board. Then you just agree, that's just an indication. Don't use these lines, but indication to get yours really adjusted to it. I think in the past it was more sketchy. It was I got lots of feedback that in the very beginning, okay, that's not soft, that's corners too foggy, that's in the dark. What you want to do there before you start to question yourself in front of the modeler? What am I actually want to do there?
So you spend time working it out yourself.
I try to work out. I try to have a proper, complete, more or less complete answer to it. Yeah.
Because I think that this is, this to continue this discussion about, as a designer, should you be doing 3D work? Should you not? Should you just draw? Whatever. The point is that everybody has got a different process.
Yeah, that's
to simplify the whole thing. What's not okay from a modeler's standpoint is for you to, especially if there's a time pressure, for you to come with half an idea and not really done your homework, not thought about what you want, and then expect something to come to life in 2 minutes, and you think that you're going to save time by jumping into 3D.
It's funny that you say that, but I got the feeling in general the whole industry is kind of picking up so much speed in terms of development time, in terms of shortening the process wherever they can, just to get it to a very quick result, to be on the market earlier than the competition, whatever. I feel this, that all of us suffer. The designer suffers, the modeler suffers a lot, because everything needs to be finished by yesterday. And that's all the time these days.
You are not the first person to say that, and I'm almost sure you are not the last.
Now I hear more and more in the press or people some people saying, especially not designers, but people planning these things, saying like, we can cut out like clay, for example. We can just do it digital. Wrong answer for me. Really wrong answer. I notice again and again that at some point you get blind on the screen. You don't see it properly anymore, but you see on a 3D model on clay, that's a process which should never be cancelled in a development. You see just on the clay where things go more or less wrong or right. Yeah? You can easily fix it, scan it, bring it back to the cast model, saying we figured out that and that thing is actually in a complete wrong place. We have to change it. We take that scan as an influence. Let's rebuild it.
To talk hypothetically here, the thinking is that you still get, if you were to eliminate the clay process, that you created digital data.
Yeah.
You still, I remember around that time, I was inexperienced then, but at Jaguar they started experimenting with the first time we saw those like blue foam models, just
I remember
proportion evaluation. As far as I know, that was like something that was quite new then. They were trying this out, right? What
I remember a foam model I built with I think Ian Hancock.
Yes. Shout out to Ian Hancock.
Good guy, really nice. I remember we had a tough time to really get it built. So after all, when it was milled and was in a viewing garden against all the competitor cars we would figure out for that class of car, I saw all the mistakes, and I would have loved to see that car in clay and just get some clay modelers in there and doing it. But after all, they were just not interested in that size of car.
Okay.
But
that I think that's ultimately the question. So what, like, you know, in the situation, you're still getting a physical volume, but you can't necessarily do the changes in real time by hand.
Yeah.
And that's where it suffers.
I'm really a person. I would like to see things happening directly in front of me. With clay, you see it. You take off, you add, you find a new plan shape, you do stuff. Now especially with the COVID situation, with the cast modeling, lots of them are working from home. You hand in, you save your input on the server, and then you actually have to wait until he's saying, now I got something, let's have a look. And sometimes that kind of waiting time is painful.
Yeah, I guess it is. But
I mean, obviously, also all the modelers, everybody needs to have his time to properly develop. That's what I'm saying. If a process is getting shortened by time planning, because of the money, because of the time when you want to launch on the market, everybody has to suffer. The designer, the cast modeler, because I know lots of cast modelers saying, I would have given you a better quality of these surfaces, but when shall I work?
Do you think the products are suffering as well as a result?
Well, I think everybody is pushing to still get the mistakes out of the car after all. But sometimes even in A-class, you do big changes then.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's also interesting.
Yeah.
But okay, so Flo, after Audi, you ended up at.
Well, Audi was an ongoing experience, and Raul even said had no problems to keep booking us as freelancers. So he was a good team, good things going on, and then the Dieselgate was hitting in. There was another crisis in a small.
Shout out to Martin Winterkorn.
Where are you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
unfortunately, that finally was leading to budget cuts, and that was leading to a reduction of people. In the end, I was sitting there alone with Raoul, and even that came to an end. And Makkina was again saving me, like, hey Flo, I know it's a rough time at the moment. How would you feel if I just forward your portfolio to NextDB, now called Neo?
I remember this name started popping up around that time, actually, as well. I remember. Yeah.
It was still
NextDB.
It was still down to them to invite me, basically, and to give me that position. But that was the vitamin B, the contact I was hoping for, and Makkina giving me these contacts was
the vitamin B.
Yes.
Okay.
Vitamin B, not DB. Yeah. And it was a straightforward process. Well, interview 2 weeks later. Yeah, you got the job. Signed the contract. Left the Audi, the Raoul department, end of 16 and started early 17 in Neo.
Wow, cool.
And now I'm there almost 4 years.
And you happy?
Yeah, cool. Of course.
They've done some really cool shit, dude.
I have to say, all these experiences, like OEM, Audi Diploma, OEM Jag, Land Rover, then the agency work for Makkina, and then the freelancer work for Audi. So all these components really play together to be in a good position starting or working for a startup. You notice all these components, they're kind of bringing you to the point that you feel like you can really do something good for that startup.
And you're always taking little pieces along the way from different places.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's called experience, right?
Right, yeah. I know. It's a simple way of saying
but
it.
I think that's these different experiences that
cool.
I really appreciate all of them.
Any advice for kids starting out today, or young people starting out wanting to be a designer today?
Advice. I mean, after all, I don't know if advices are leading you to something, a different method, but I think you should just get started. If you notice you have the skill, if you notice you have that big interest and if you feel like that's the only job you ever want to do in your life, and that, I think, was my feeling, that was the feeling of lots of my colleagues, then just start practicing. Sketching is the base for everything, even today. I think without having an understanding for 3D, having a good kind of sketching method, maybe, which you still develop in school, but first of all, to know how to sketch things, that's the base. And you should really look out for all the opportunities you can get to practice, like do courses. Don't just draw cars. Maybe you just get experienced in drawing everything what you can draw, just to understand 3D, not just for cars, but for draw a camera, draw a microphone, draw stuff in different perspectives. Try, fail, try again.
Draw nudes.
Yeah, of course. It's a complete different way of drawing, but it's also a volume, and it's a kind of an attitude. You add, with your sketches, you add attitude to your cars. Same like you try to capture attitude of the body language when you draw that stuff. Yeah.
Wow. Flo, thank you very much. That was amazing.
Thank you very much.
It was great to see you. Klaus,
I really enjoyed it.
Thank you, dude.